My name is Steve Gribben, and thank you for joining me in this Glassbox strategy session. Today I want to discuss how a prudent corporate governance structure can actually improve your ability to raise capital. In my time as an attorney and investment banker, one of the biggest defects I've seen with emerging public companies is their lack of a sound corporate governance structure. This flaw, which seems like it would be easy to fix, is pretty much an epidemic within the OTC marketplace. The corporate boards of OTC companies are often made up of just a few people, sometimes as few as one person. And the individuals sitting on these boards are typically the same people who operate their company on a day-to-day basis. Not only does this type of structure fail to hold management accountable, it also creates huge conflicts. A few scenarios come to mind. Number one, how does a company properly determine a CEO's compensation when a CEO is also the chairman of a one-person board? Number two, how does a company with a three-person board approve a transaction with another entity controlled by two of its board members? These types of conflicts regularly arise when OTC companies fail to put in place adequate corporate governance structures. To make sure that a company is making decisions with the best interest of its shareholders in mind and not prioritizing the interests of its management or board, there's a simple solution. OTC companies can look to the corporate governance requirements set forth by NASDAQ. Specifically, the following basic corporate governance rules can be used as a guide. Number one, OTC companies should elect a majority of independent directors. And this means independent individuals that are not shareholders or managers within the company. Number two, OTC companies should establish a compensation committee consisting solely of independent directors with at least two parties. Number three, OTC companies should form an audit committee, also solely of independent directors. There should be at least three people on this committee, and they should all be able to read and understand the company's financial statements. Number four, OTC companies should put in place a process to review related party transactions. Number five, OTC companies should require shareholder approval of things like equity compensation to management, new stock issuances over a certain threshold, and material acquisitions. And finally, number six, OTC companies should establish a rule set that will not allow them to affect a corporate action that would greatly reduce or resist or restrict existing shareholder voting power. These rules that I just listed are perhaps the most fundamental to put in place as a sound corporate governance structure. I know this may sound complicated and perhaps overly burdensome for many OTC companies, but a little bit of time and effort spent on these items can make your company much more investable from an institutional standpoint. The venture funds and hedge funds that often contribute to early stage public companies want to make sure that the money they invest is used prudently to pursue corporate objectives and not merely to enrich a management team or other affiliated parties. And a good corporate governance structure will give these types of institutional investors the comfort they are seeking. In the end, if your company can adopt a sound corporate governance structure, two significant benefits will come into play. Number one, you'll be able to more easily attract institutional capital, and two, you'll be able to graduate from the OTC to NASDAQ or NYSE more seamlessly when the time comes. If you'd like to discuss your particular corporate governance structure as it exists now or changes that you'd need to make to achieve the objectives I just mentioned, please feel free to reach out to me. I can be contacted at info@glassboxlaw.com or through our website on one of the inquiry forms at glassboxlaw.com. Thank you.